Thank you so much for staying tuned on the program this morning on ITV. Now, what we are looking at this morning especially is the exodus of medical practitioners from our country. Now, over 100 doctors have resigned from the University College Hospital in Ibadan this year alone, and about 800 doctors resigned from Lagos State hospitals in the last 2 years, and over 50 in November alone. Now, do you know that Kebbi State has been unable to employ a single doctor in 2 years, despite multiple adverts for employment, and over 200 doctors and nurses have resigned from Ladoke Akintola Teaching Hospital this year, 2017. Now, 70% of Nigerian doctors are making plans to leave for foreign lands and are taking exams to that effect. We must know that about 236 doctors wrote primaries for West Africa College of Physicians in 2017 to gain admission into Nigerian teaching hospitals. And in 2012, more than 1,000 doctors had written the same exams, and 660 of them had written the Professional and Linguistics Assessment Board examination to practice in the UK over those primaries. Now, neglect for health care evidenced by lack of funding, undersupply, inefficiency, discrete equipment, poor quality, needless deaths, and unhappy workforce. Today, many of the country's general hospitals are not in good conditions and are breeding grounds for infectious diseases. Many also do not have sufficient beds, so corridors are turned to sleeping wards. Now, there is the need for increased number of public centers fully equipped with adequate drugs and modern facilities and manned by specialists. The nation needs about 303,333 medical doctors now, and about 10,605 new doctors annually to provide good quality patient care, providing better facilities and work environment, higher remuneration, career progression, professional advancement, and better quality of life would guarantee good quality health care. Allocation to health in the proposed 2018 budget should have been more than just 3.9%. Now, 3.9% allocated to the health sector is much more less than what the WHO recommended, which is 15%. Now, federal government allocated 340.45 billion naira to healthcare in the 2018 appropriation bill, and of 8.612 trillion naira, which is the total budget. But the World Health Organization says for Nigeria to be seen to prioritize health care, it must at least spend a minimum of 6,908 naira per Nigerian in a year, which, if multiplied by 180 million people, will amount to 1.2 trillion naira, meaning if 1.2 trillion naira is budgeted and spent on healthcare for a year, as against the current 340.45 billion naira being allocated to healthcare, it will go a long way in solving significant health issues in the country. I have two gentlemen with me this morning to look at this issue and the possible way forward. Dr. Alex Asekedi, you're welcome to the program. Oh, Leonard Asekedi, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Okay, he's a family physician. And I have Anthony Ikogwe, who is a travel agent, with me this morning. Anthony, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, we're also expecting Dr. Philip Ogbodaga, who is the MD Central Hospital, Benin, here to also join us on this discussion this morning. Now, exodus of doctors. You know, we're talking about illegal migration of people leaving the country in drones. Now, medical doctors are also leaving by the day. Dr. Alex,
Leo,
Dr. Leo, what's your take?
Well, you know, it is a natural phenomenon for everybody to seek for better life. And again, if you are in a place where your worth is not recognized, of course you have to get to where your worth will be recognized. And you see, in our country, the problem doctors are currently facing, doctors are not supposed, we're not supposed to go into issues of discussing who becomes this or that in the health sector. We're supposed to be allowed to concentrate to do our job. But because government oftentimes, give rooms for all these distractions, you see that the doctor, instead of concentrating on doing his job, is now forced to go into the trenches. Now, doctors are getting frustrated in this country. We are really getting frustrated in Nigeria. You've just analyzed some issues concerning the health sector. Now, about 13 years ago, there was a gathering of heads of states, including Nigeria head of state then. And it was agreed that at least 15% of our budget should be allocated to health sector. But the highest that has ever happened was in 2012, where about 5.9% was allocated to health sector. Now, you also talked about the 2018 budget. Now, what the government is proposing per Nigeria citizen is less than 2,000 naira for the whole year. And in this proposal, you discover that there are so many other things, salaries, equipment, and what have you. All of them are in that 2,000. Again, if you look at the soaring state of some of our hospitals, you will pity the doctor. Now, during this salary issue, when states were owing salaries, some states were owing doctors up to 22 months. That is a man that spent all his time trying to study in order to contribute to the well-being of our people with so much hope. Then he comes out and he discovers that he's not paid salaries for more than a year. Probably the entire family is depending on him. So, and again, when the younger ones discover that those who studied medicine previously, it's like there's no hope. Of course, they have to seek alternative places to go to. Like the figures you gave concerning primaries, PLAB, and those foreign exams. Of course, they are mainly our younger ones because they've seen that the senior ones, even specialists, are roaming the streets. No job for them. And Nigeria needs, like you also analyze in your statistics, we still need more than 200,000 doctors in order to be able to meet with the healthcare demand of our people. But yet, the few ones we have around, they are not properly catered for. MDCN has registered over 72,000 doctors. But less than 35,000 are practicing in this country. And even that number will further depreciate, will further go down in few months and a few years to come. Because if my children, for example, they see that their father is a doctor, at least he already became a specialist, and even when you retire, there's no hope for you. Because our senior citizens in Nigeria, they are queuing up every day. So if I discovered that those who came before me, they worked, they were not paid salaries, they retired, and no hope for them. So what should I be doing in this country? I would rather find a place where my services can be better appreciated. That is what is happening as far as doctors are concerned in Nigeria.
Wow. Okay, Anthony, you work with these people like you're a travel agent, and United States of America, UK, and even Canada is the place they travel the most. Why do you think so?
First of all, I want to handle the talk generally on medical professionals, not talk only about the doctors. Because when you talk about the medical professional, nurses, doctors, lab scientists are there. It's quite alarming today in Nigeria that our government, our leader, who are in position, do not know what they are doing to the nation. People in the medical profession, they have a lot of roles to play in nation building and human generally. Because as we are here today, if we are sick, we can't come for this program. If you look at some greater percentage of Nigerians are sick, and who take care of these people? The medical doctors, the nurses, and people in the medical profession. This sector of the economy have been neglected in the past, not only now. People are no longer interested. The medical, people in the medical field are no longer interested in practicing, because it is quite glaring that these people are not well taken care of. The hospital are dilapidated, value are not attached to their work. You can imagine somebody who went through university for studying medicine for 5 good years with vigorous training. In short, I feel for the doctors because they do not have time for themselves. Even they, while they are home eating, they could get a call from the hospital. Oh, your patient needs this. They will run down. But still, a nation like Nigeria do not have regard for medical doctors. So what do you expect? When you are in an environment where your services are not recognized, when there's no value to what you are doing to the profession, they look for how to go to somewhere where people will have regard and value for you. That's exactly what brought about the issue of most of our medical personnel migrating to countries like Canada, US, UK. You see, when you talk about brain drain today in the world, you see, brain drain means where you train your people. Some people just come from nowhere and just hijack somewhere along the line for them to go and come. Now, Nigerian doctors are well trained. But after that training, people in the developed nation take them over to go and enjoy the services which they gain from the nation. But our country have not deemed it fit to look, okay, what will be the effect of this thing in the nearest future? What can we do to reduce? Because I know basically we cannot, issue of migration cannot be stopped. But okay, what can they do to reduce to the best minimum? Instead, they are just there. So, as I'm saying, to worsen the whole thing, like as the doctor has said, for you to go and practice in a country like the UK, US, and so on and so forth, there are certain exams you need to take, like the nurses, the doctors. Like in UK, for example, for you to go and practice in the UK, for you to be signed as a UK nurse, in the past, it has not been compulsory that you have to do this English test for you to qualify to come and practice in the UK. But now, for you to know how important the medical profession has been, in the UK now, about 3 weeks now, NHS in UK have discovered that they are short of nurses in the UK. They decide to lift the English language test out of being a requirement for you to come and practice as a nurse in London. So today, they open the door for medical practitioners to come to the UK, to come and take the nurses exam, to come and practice in the UK. But we that are Nigerians do not seem to see the importance of the
Our nurses and
doctors in this country. So, not like what the doctor has said. Today, look at Nigerian doctors today. People are no longer interested in staying back, because at the end of the day, you have nothing to show for it. Today, Nigerian doctors are very brilliant people, because for you to go and practice abroad, you need to take some strong exams, some tests for you to qualify to move to this nation to go and practice. And now, you discover that even by taking those tests, you see that even the brilliant doctors are the people whom this developed nation removed from Nigeria. But what is the government doing? What is their thinking? What do they have in mind on how to put this particular station under control, under a check? Now you look at the 2018 budget, as Dr. has spoken. Less money is being budgeted for medical, for the health sector. It is not supposed to be so any other nation. Because head is a word. If a man is sick, the man cannot function well. So the health sector is one sector where the government of Nigeria is supposed to pay more attention to.
Okay.
So it is quite unfortunate that our leaders are not looking at this in this direction. But one thing that God has done so far today is that about health. Even if you are a rich man and you are a poor man, sickness does not know a rich man. It does not know a poor man. So that is one thing that equates the rich and the poor together.
All right. Okay, before you come in, because I'm still going to come back to you, you know, would expect that our president, having had health challenge in the past and traveled and saw everything that happened over there in the UK, would probably increase the budget for health and all that. But then coming back to you, Dr. Leo, how many doctors are we supposed to have per patients? Or how many patients per
population?
doctor? Yes.
Well, the WHO recommends 1 doctor to 600. But in our Nigeria, we have 1 doctor to over 5,000
patients.
Patients. So, and again, I want to add something for you to know the very bad state of our health in Nigeria. Do you know that Nigeria is rated as the 187th out of 191 countries in terms of healthcare? Nigeria is the 187th. That means from behind, we're in the 4th position in the entire world. Do you know that infant mortality rate in Nigeria is the 3rd worst in the entire world? Do you know that maternal mortality in Nigeria is the 2nd worst in the entire world? Now, do you also know that it is estimated that Nigeria spends over 350 billion naira on yearly basis on medical tourism? And this is higher than the budget for health in 2018. Now, if you convert all this money and invest it into the healthcare system, I'm telling you that Nigeria will become a destination for other countries for medical tourism. Do you also know that Ghana right now, Ghana has built a 1,000 bedded specialist hospital, and they have in mind Nigerians who are involved in medical tourism, and they are equipping that hospital so that they can also participate in this, do I call it another Odoji Award that Nigeria is spreading to other countries of the world? Do you know that these people who travel abroad for medical tourism to US, Canada, they are managed by Nigerians, who many of them were trained in this country.
Who
and they
left here because of poor remuneration.
Because of not just remuneration. Now, a colleague of mine told me a few days ago, he works somewhere, is a radiologist, a specialist, but no single machine to work with. Now, you cannot x-ray with your bare eyes.
Government or federal government hospital?
Well, it's a government hospital. Do you know that in this country, there is a state in Nigeria where they have 24 hospitals and they have 23 doctors in this country? Do you know that there are some states in Nigeria where they don't have one single consultant in their employment? You know, I can go on and on. I don't want our people at home to lose their heart, because government need to redirect attention to healthcare in Nigeria. Now, there are about 8 centers for cancer treatment in Nigeria. Do you know that at no time that more than 3 centers will work? 1 or 2 at a time. So,
why is that?
1, some of the machines they have, they are obsolete, they are old, they need to be changed, some need to be refurbished, and to do all this is run into millions. So if the federal government has budgeted less than 2,000 naira per citizen of Nigeria, the MDs, the chief medical directors cannot go and steal money from somewhere else in order to get these things working. So it is really appalling. And when you get frustrated, if a student is in school, each time they want to write exam, they will drive the student, say you never pay school fees. He will continue another semester. He will not write exam. What will he do? He will leave the school and go and probably learn, one trade or the other. And that's exactly what's happening to our medical colleagues. Even those who manage to work in some places, they work there pending when another door opens. So the situation, the government needs to declare a state of emergency in terms of healthcare in Nigeria. Otherwise, I'm telling you, in few years, now residency is no longer attractive. What I mean by residency is, people come in to do, after their 6 to 8 years for the MBBS in the university, 6 to 8 years of rigorous day and night work. You go, prepare for primaries, you may be doing that for 2, 3, 4 years before you pass. You will pass, you will hold that your certificate, and that certificate expires after about 5 years or so. Some people will hold that certificate and it will expire on their hand because no space for them to do residency. This is not due to the fault of the MDs and CMDs, but because of the budgetary allocation to these hospitals. So the man cannot pay the doctors from his pocket. So instead of employing them and each time they go on strike, of course, he will not. So, and again, you discover that even right now, the cost of these exams is climbing as the dollar moves up. The cost of our exams, whether you call it primaries or the fellowship exams, also climbs up. So sometimes even the doctor can't afford paying for the exams. You can imagine. So why would these colleagues of mine not seek alternative to Nigeria? They will. My friend was mentioning UK, Canada, America. Oh boy, some are willing to go to Liberia if they will get better paid in those countries. And if they will be honored, they are willing to go. So it's not just UK, America, whatever. Even Ghana, wherever anybody can get, greener pasture, they will go. Because it is a painful thing. No single doctor in Nigeria can afford to buy a new car. No one. From their salary, they cannot afford to buy a brand new car. In fact, the Belgians they even buy, they are smoky because they cannot maintain them. So the situation is so bad that our people, they want to seek, because our families are waiting for us. They felt that at least if we manage to train one doctor, you'll be able to probably assist the family, because so many other professions, they don't get job anywhere. But now it is also affecting the medical practitioners. So if I go on and on, the situation, I don't know. So let me stop there.
Okay, Mr. Anthony, we see especially in our specialist hospital here in Edo State, because we can't discuss this with Edo in isolation. A lot of, you hear people complain about, not enough bed, they sleep on the corridor, some say they use candlelights and lanterns because there is no electricity in the hospital. And again, insecurity is another major problem. But with the recent 2018 budget appropriation that was presented to the Edo State House of Assembly with health for about 3.3 billion naira for health. Do you think that there's possible it's going to get better in 2018?
See, it's not in governance. It's not making the budget, pronouncing the budget that's not the problem. It's implementing what was made in the right direction. I've not come here to talk much about the medical facilities in Edo State, but at least we cannot go without saying anything about it. Let me use the Central Hospital as a case study today. You can see the ultra-modern infrastructure that was built on that premises today. By standard, the way you look at that edifice outside, if you want to see outside what's inside, I think people will come in from all over the country to come and take treatment in that hospital. But unfortunately, what we are seeing there is just a building. Because if they are equipped, by now, the people who are going to the hospital, they will show to the people of Edo State. But unfortunately, like I said, we have not come to go and discuss the issue of whether the hospital is equipped or not equipped. What we are saying is that they say the government have to pay attention to hospitals, because hospitals and doctors have a lot of role to play about human health. So if they have made, even if they have made such a budget, and without proper utilization of what was budgeted for, then we remain where we are. Nigerian situation, they do not value life in Nigeria. Most time, when I talk, I make reference to the Western world, because I'm in this place most of the time. If they lost one person, they want to say, why did this person die? Go to our hospital today, you see the level of people who have high blood pressure, the level of people who have stroke. People are dying every day. But what is government, what is their concern? It doesn't concern them, provided it's not about the immediate family. How many people have this money to go and take medical treatment abroad? If our hospitals are well equipped, if our medical personnel are well taken care of, the need of going to take medical treatment abroad will not arise. You can imagine how much money our president used to take treatment in London. That money is spent. I know even today they've not come to the open to tell the Nigerians how much was spent on that treatment. The money they spend for that treatment is enough to turn this national health to something else. But unfortunately, this country is a country that people, because of their personal interests, if they are somewhere, because the government of the day, or they're having something to gain from the government, they don't want to come out and say the fact. Government have neglected the public so much that today people are frustrated. Sorry, let me just debate a little. When we're talking about illegal migration being deported from Libya, so on and so forth, a lot of people take it to their name because they are frustrated. They are frustrated. When you are living a life of no hope, say, well, let me take the people at the home if I succeed, or if I die, because you see, the government does not plan for the populace. Nigerian people are not leaders. We are not planning for the Nigerians at all. It is quite very unfortunate, not like the doctor said now. At least they say in life, we have what is called transition. Now, all of life is we are in a transit in life. We must live and die. Because now for this thing that my profession, who am I going to hand over to? Nobody. So there's already that gap, vacuum, that even people who like him, who is advanced, who is managing to practice now, the young ones are not ready to stay. So in the next about 5, 6, 10 years time, you will see you go to the hospital, there won't be any doctor.
I don't think so.
I'm telling you, because either you take it or leave it. You see, listen, because the only way you can achieve, get a goal is planning ahead. What plan does government have that as these people are growing, who are the young ones that are going to take over from them? The young ones that are supposed to take over them are already thinking about how to leave the country to go and get something greener somewhere. So if you tell me by the next future that it won't happen, it will happen. Then I'm going to say myself, wait, if you listen. Let me look at about 5, 10 years ago, when we say you go to mechanic workshop, you see apprentices full everywhere. We were saying them because people have lost interest in going to acquire a trade. Today you go to the workshop, you only say the master, no apprentice any longer. So if I'm saying by the next future, by you go to our hospital, you won't see doctor. I'm not mistaken. Because some time ago, we mentioned this issue of apprenticeship, but today, that's you go to any workshop, people are not acquiring it. So if there are no young ones to take over for where this our senior doctor are, tell me what will happen. The problem is there. So the government are just looking as if they don't know that.
But why do you think Canada, for example, would make their exams more simple, especially for nurses, like you stated earlier?
Yes, I'm talking about UK, not Canada.
Okay, UK.
You see now, because when they say that they demand, because for you to train people in the medical profession, you cannot just wake up a facility as a medical practitioner. You have to pass through a process of training to qualify to be able to practice. Now they discovered that the English language is not part of medical profession. So maybe, of course, in medicine, they have the terminology, they have what you have to study. But English, if you are a Benin by trial, for instance, and you know how to administer, attend the patient with a Benin language, that does not stop your professionalism on the on medicine. So bringing the issue of English language tests as a requirement for you to come and practice as a nurse in the UK before now. Because they themselves discovered that with the shortage of nurses they have in the UK system, that if they are going to restrict these nurses coming from the developing countries because of the English language, because these people are already trained in their profession, they are qualified. So it must be a requirement. Since they are taught in English, with the level of English which they acquire in doing that training, they can practice as well. Okay. That is why that one is it does not remove it as a requirement.
Okay, and that makes it easier for people to apply.
Yes.
All right. We know, Dr. Leo, that Lagos State is doing wonderfully well in its health sector. I also know that Delta State is another state that is doing something again. So do you think that with those states 3.3 billion allocation for health in the 2018 appropriation, that they might get somewhere maybe?
Well, like my friend mentioned, you know, to present a budget is one thing, but again, to release these funds is another issue. You know, in my days as Secretary NMA Edo State, I remember Lagos State was one of those states that had issues with their government in terms of remunerations, facilities, and what have you. But of recent, I have not heard of such issues. Though I don't work in those states, but I believe that if government really probably releases up to 90% of what they budgeted, and on yearly basis they build on it, I think things will get better. And you know, our colleagues, you know, medicine is a calling, and every doctor has a passion for the patient. Every single doctor has a passion for the patient, because in medical practice you don't know who is going to be the patient. Could be a doctor, could be your parents, your relations. So we have a passion for this job. But despite that passion, if you want to clear, for example, and you need cutlass, and who is to provide it for you does not give you, you become discouraged. There are people that have gone for specialty training in different fields, but they return back, no facility to work. Let me just tell you something about the life of the doctor. Now, when you start your medical life, let me put it that way, they admit you into 100 level. Most times, people don't write JAMB once before they get into medicine. Now you get into medicine with all the hopes. Day and night, you work for 6. Nobody spends, in this country as far as I know, nobody spends 6 years exactly in medical school. It's not because of failing exams or whatever. Of course, you know other issues, strikes and what have you. They end up spending at least 7, 8 years in medical school. Let's say they were 16 or 18 when they started, do the arithmetic. Now, after that, they will go for their youth service. After youth service, they will return back, and during their youth service, they start preparing, reading, and planning to do their primaries or PLAB or those exams. And if it's the one that wants to go into the residency, you go into the residency program. You spend another, in some specialties, you spend up to 8-9 years. The least number of years you spend is 6 years. And in all these years, if you were employed somewhere, you are not a pensionable staff. By the time you finish your residency, you are above 40 plus. Now, you now want to be employed. You have barely less than 10-15 years
to practice.
For you to practice if you are civil, if you want to work in government setting. And within this period you have, look at the frustrations. Ifoma, tell me why doctors should not leave Nigeria. Tell me. Because if you have labored so much with all the hope, thinking that, when you graduate, you will get somewhere, where you will be appreciated. You discover that nobody appreciates you. When I mean nobody, I mean nobody. People only appreciate the doctor when they are ill. And once they are well, they won't appreciate you. For example, one day I was driving when I was working at the Comprehensive Health Center in Udo. It was on an environmental day, on a Saturday. I came home for the week, but I was called for a patient. And I decided to drive down from Benin City to Udo to go and attend to a patient who needed my attention. I was stopped on the road by police. And I told them, please, I am driving down to my station. I have an emergency. They told me that I was about my personal business.
Wow.
And because of that, they will not allow me go. They held me there until I threatened them that they took my ID card. I threatened them, look, I will leave the ID card with you and I will drive away. If you like, do anything. That was the only time they released the ID card. The doctor is not appreciated anywhere in this country. For example, I go to a filling station. My vehicle, there's no fuel in my car. And I say, please, I'm a doctor. I'm on call. They will tell you, doctor, okay. And you will stay on that queue. Whereas there are people waiting for you to attend to them. So we need a reorientation. In some places, I have not been there, but I have heard stories that when you enter a bus or a train, and you know this is a doctor, they get up and allow the man to sit down. But here in Nigeria, nobody appreciates the doctor. Nobody. When I mean nobody, I mean nobody.
I do. I appreciate the doctors. Okay, you do too. Okay, so Anthony, how do you think we can get this right, like way forward? So we can be.
The way forward on this issue of doctor migrating, leaving this country to go abroad to go and practice, they cannot be stopped, but it can be reduced to the barest minimum if government is ready. When I mean government is ready, all of us, including me and you, what we need earn good living. We need to be able to provide for our families. So because you say, if you are satisfied, if I come to your house, if I have taken my breakfast well fed with good food, even if you are eating anything, I won't be interested in even having to even say I want to eat there. So if our doctors and our nurses, our medical practitioners are well taken care of, if they have hope, that there's a hope in this country, to those of them who have even gone abroad to go and study, they may even have to come back here to come and put what they left into practice.
Okay.
But first of all, no, don't tell me, okay, don't show me that. First of all, this nation, Nigeria, need to know the importance of doctors. So like my doctor has spoken, actually people do not value doctors. Only a lot of people regard them when they are sick. So but the government have to go back home. In short, if it is possible to make about 25% of Nigerian budget into the health sector, it will be very, very, very good. I know you may think it's not possible, but because in abroad, if you see, that's what I say today, if you talk about life expectancy of Nigeria, if I ask you, what's the life expectancy of Nigeria? It's not up to 45, 50 years. Doctor, am I correct?
It's about 51, 52
I am
years.
so. But abroad, you see people, you see a 110-old man still walking on the street healthy. Why? Because of their good environment and good health. Health is wealth. I repeat, I say it again.
Okay.
Government need to do more funding and pay more attention to the people in the medical profession and make sure they also fund our hospitals so that there won't be any need, because the money we spend yearly going abroad to take medical treatment is enough to equip our hospital and take care of our medical personnel in Nigeria.
Thank you. Dr. Leo, way forward.
The way forward. Well, my friend has talked about the government. Yes, I will also say, apart from government, generally we need a reorientation. You know, in my view, the doctor is not supposed to be the one going on strike to press for what they need. The populace are supposed to rise up and say, look, this is what these people need. The government should do something in order to improve the services they render to us. Now, somebody once told me, he said, look, doctor, even if they pay doctor 1 million naira every month in Norwich, an accountant, do you know why he appreciated that? He was sick, he was ill, and he was afraid of his life. But eventually, doctors managed him, and he's alive, strong, healed and healthy today. So, then government itself, this medical tourism, you know, in one of the years alone, over 1 billion naira was spent by government officials on medical tourism from taxpayers' money. Why don't we invest this money into the healthcare system? So, government need to, you know, redirect their attention to healthcare. In fact, government should declare a state of emergency in healthcare in Nigeria, and government should be able to should be ready to do anything to make sure Nigerians are healthy. And you cannot do this in isolation without the doctor. So, I want to advise and counsel our people that instead of allowing the doctors to go to the trenches, let our people go to the trenches on behalf of the doctors when it comes to issues of their demands, remunerations, calling for better services in the hospital. So, by the time the public start doing this, government will wake up. Because most times what we see, when the doctor is asking for something, other people come up to say, if you do for doctor, you must do for me. We're not saying people should not ask for their rights, but it is not a competition.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Leonard Asekede, for coming on the program this morning. And Anthony Kogwe, thank you also for coming. Now I've been speaking with Dr. Leonard Asekede, who is a family physician, and Anthony Ikogwe, who is a travel agent. And whether we like it or not, health is wealth, and it's very, very important. We can't do without medical practitioners. No matter how highly placed you are, you fall sick, you need their attention. Hence, and of course for our government officials and the governments of the day, you can afford medical tourism, but the taxpayers who actually fund your medical trip abroad can't afford it themselves. Hence the need for all hands to be on deck to check this mass movement of doctors from Nigeria to foreign countries to practice after training them after all this, and what do we get? They go and work for another place and another country and another people. So we must do something, and very fast, so that it doesn't come to that time when we have to look for them and we can't see. I mean, if a doctor is supposed to see 600 patients and now we have about a doctor saying about 5,000 or even more, because there are some places, there are some communities. I remember Bishop from Sabogida Aura on our radio program did say in the whole of their place, there's not even one dentist in their hospital. Then there is a problem, because what if there is an emergency? What happens? How many doctors do we even have here in Edo State and in our central hospitals? Doctors resign on a daily basis. Why is that? And so rather than leave hospitals under lock and key, I mean buildings, while the people sleep on the corridors, sleep without lights and all that, Edo State government should rise up to the challenge and make sure that, yes, we do something while we're waiting for the federal government to do and play their part. TMI continues in a moment. Good morning.